Welcome to all of you for this webinar on new planning approach in the mobility, in urban mobility. I'm Antoine Clément, project officer in Codatu, partner of the Urban Transport Community Partnership. And in order to keep a good internet connection, I will ask you to cut off your video and microphone. And during the presentation, if you have any question, feel free to ask them in the chat box, which is on the top right, the bottom right of your screen. Here is the agendas of the webinar. So we will start by an opening that will present the UTC and the UTC call. UTC is the acronym for Urban Transport Community. So this small opening will be done by myself. Then there will be a thematic keynote presentation that will be done by Thibaut Descroux, which is our urban planning and mobility expert from the city of Lyon. And in the second part of this webinar, we will see three solutions held by our pioneer cities. And among these three pioneer city solutions, the first one will be done by the Regional Agency for Environment Protection in Veneto. And the title of this presentation will be Treviso Suburb Requalification. And this presentation will be done by Francesca Liguori. The second pioneer city solution that will be presented by someone from by a researcher, from the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, Anastasia Pupcu. The title of this second presentation is Road Axis Redesign in Thessaloniki. And the third and final solution presented will be the mobility plans for university campuses. This presentation will be done by Panagiotis Papantoniou from the National Technical University of Athens. And then we will conclude this webinar very shortly. What is the urban transport community? Well, it's a community of 7 territorial projects funded in the Interreg Med program framework. There is more than 200 organizations implementing sustainable mobility solutions in 12 Med countries. The UTC bring various actors such as local and regional authorities, mobility operators, university, civil society, etc., etc. There is 7 partners involved in the partnership, the UTC partnership. Among these partners, the lead partner is Med Cities. Then we also have Unimed, Civitas, Area Science Park, Codatu, Police, and the municipality of Durres. You can see on your screen all the communication channel of the UTC. So do not worry if you don't have enough time now to just write all these informations. You will receive after this webinar a recap email that will sum up all the key information, such as these communication channels. In order to present all the experiences and tools used by the UTC, we organized a set of webinars from October 7 to November 25. The webinar series is a part of the urban transport community's effort to facilitate local mobility stakeholders and key players joining forces to foster sustainable mobility in southern European countries. Here is the agenda of all the webinars. So maybe in the audience, there is people that have attended to the previous one. Maybe there is also new participants. So if there is a new person that are interested by these webinars, you can find each records of webinar on YouTube, and in order to on our YouTube channel, sorry. And also you can find them if you are going to the the UTC website, when there is always a resume and the record of the webinars. So as you saw, you are attending now, as you see, sorry, you are attending now to the webinar 7, entitled Sustainable Urban Mobility Planning Approaches in Mediterranean Cities. And there is just one webinar left, which is the 8th, and that will deal with electromobility. Please note that it's not too late for register to the last webinars, so you will also receive the link within the recap mail. Well, now, what is the philosophy of the UTC partnership? Well, under the coordination of the urban transports community, the most innovative and engaged cities of our community, that we call pioneer cities, will accompany other territories in developing and improving their own sustainable urban mobility solutions. The other territories here are called replicating cities. All this process of sharing the experience will be facilitated by mentors selected by the community amongst professional mobility planners and practitioners. So you can see on the screen a fabulous schema that resumes all this philosophy. And concerning the pioneer cities that will be presented today, they are the following: the Treviso cities, the Thessaloniki cities, sorry, and the campus of the University of Athens. So as I precised previously the first presentation of the solution held in Treviso will be done by the Regional Agency for Environment Protection in Veneto. Concerning the solution held in Thessaloniki, that will be done by the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. And finally, concerning the mobility plans for university campuses, that will be done by the National Technical University of Athens. Here are the three solutions. If you want more detail, you can find them on the Med Urban Tool website. That looks like that. I strongly invite you to visit the Med Urban Tool platform for knowing more about today's presentation, but also for all the other solutions of our pioneer cities. On this platform, each cities and each solution have its own solution sheet, and you can find all the information you need from each solution. So you will see it's very intuitive, and each solution, all the solutions, sorry, are classified by thematics and categories. So it's really easy to navigate and really easy to find. I would also like to precise that for participants that are using French navigators, you should go to the English version of the Med Urban Tool, which is much more developed if you want to see the same screen that I show you now. Well, and now let's talk about the call for sustainable urban transport implementing cities, because we are now, the UTC, looking at implementing cities. What is the call about? Well, it's a peer learning opportunity offered by the community, the urban transport community, to southern European cities to overcome some of the obstacles to the full implementation of sustainable mobility solutions. There is 5 main topics. And the first one is the data and ICT. The next one is the mobility management in tourist destination. And the last one is urban mobility planning. There is different steps in the mentoring process. And the first step is that the pioneer entity shares knowledge with the replicator cities. The mentoring process then is supervised by an expert. The third step, application reports. As you saw in the previous slide, the adaptation reports will conclude the mentoring process. So it will be composed of several elements that are, first, the current status and challenges of the replicating cities, the user needs within the replicating cities, the differences between pioneer and replicators, the similarities between pioneer and replicators. Then there is also the presentation of a set of recommendations for the adaptation. The call. Well, this call is open to all public and private entities with competences in urban transportation. So it can be municipalities, developing agency, but also broader territories such as regions and metropolitan areas. We can also accept private companies such as port authorities, public transport company, etc. We are like really open to the call. And as you saw in the agenda of this webinar, we also, for the first step of the UTC, for the presentation of the solution of today, we have 2 universities and 1 environmental agency, which means that we are very open to various actors. And finally, you will find the date to save. So what are the dates to save concerning the call? First, it's the applications. So all the applications are welcome until December 15, 2020. After the receiving of all this application, there will be a process of selection and matching that will be done by January 2021. The first peer-to-peer session and workshops will start by spring 2021, and finally the adaptation report will be produced by autumn 2021, which means it's done less than 1 year. The adaptation should be done. Now, if you're interested to apply, you will find in the chat box the call description and also all the links that could be useful. You will see the call description and also a tailored support to prepare your candidature. And in order to do this tailored support, you'll have to contact what we call here the help desk. And that's it for the presentation of the UTC. If you have, thank you first of all for your attention. And if you have any question, please raise them within the chat box. Oh, I see that there is a question. Sorry. Well, I don't see any questions, so maybe now it's that you're familiar with that. So now, in order to begin this webinar, we've prepared a short Mentimeters survey. So Mentimeters is an online tool that allows us to make small surveys. So I will maybe let the floor to Floretta, and she will present the tool and how it works.
Hello everyone, my name is Floretta Cortusha. I'm representing Durrës municipality. I'm the co-organizer with Antoine in order to make this thematic webinar more interesting and more useful for all of you. Now we are going to launch, as you can see on the chat, a link that you can click on it and you can vote. You can this is an online poll, so you can vote, you can give your opinion and your idea on the questions that we have raised for this thematic webinar. All of you now are free to vote. Please do not forget to click on the link that I put on the chat.
Floretta, should
yes,
I share
my
my screen?
I will share.
Oh.
Yes, of course.
Fantastic.
Sorry,
No, that's fine.
Okay, sorry. Can you see? This is the picture. You have to vote. Okay, I will share now the voting. Okay, Antoine, you can feel free to comment the slides.
Yes, fine. So now we are gonna start. Fine, we're gonna see if these Mentimeters work. Well, for now, we're just waiting answer.
Okay.
I don't know if it's okay for all the participants to do so. You will see that concerning this small survey, the two first questions are much more, let's say, test one, for us to see if the tool works. And the last three questions are much more, will introduce much more the intervention of Mr. Thibaut Descroux, that is our planning and urban and transport planning expert today. So, okay, well, how much are we today? Okay, well, like 26 participants and only 3 as answer. Should we wait? Let's wait 1 more minute before changing the questions.
Okay.
If it's fine. Oh, thank you very much for your participation, by the way. Okay, nice. Should we pass to the second question? So normally you will find your screen will change on the platform you use. Oops, and you will see this. Oops, yes.
Sorry.
Yes, now there is a question concerning the reason why you are attending this webinar. So normally all of you, yes, all the screen change and you can now answer it. Okay, so it seems that a lot of people of this webinar are working on your project on mobility issues.
Yes.
Nice.
It seems like this, yes. Perfect.
Okay. Well, fantastic. Now, should we pass to the more focalized question? Okay. Whoops. We received too much. Okay. By the way, thank you very much for all your participation. So, well, now we have a question about participatory process, and would like to know that for you, a participatory process this day is, first of all, a truly decision-making aid to guide projects. It's the future of planification. It's a way to save money in the long run, or it is a kind of labyrinth where everything seems difficult. You can answer, you can make various choices. It's not a single choice answer. And because as you might know, we are gonna present the SUMP, which are the Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan. And one of the components of the SUMP are the participatory process. So for now, you can see that participatory process is seen by a truly decision-making aid to guide projects and also the future of planification for now. Okay, the tendency seemed to be confirmed. Okay, it's okay, and nobody thinks that it's a way to save money in the long run. Okay, interesting. Well, thank you very much for your answer. We'll now pass to the next question. And we'd like to know how familiar are you with the SUMP concept. The SUMP is the Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan, and it's a kind of policy that is sharing by the European Union. And just this kind of question help us to adapt or a little bit of presentation within the next minutes. It seems that we have a majority of person that knows or are working a little bit with this kind of tools. Okay. Well, nice. Well, one more time, thank you very much for your answer. We will now pass to the last question of this Mentimeters. And oops, should we pass to the... Oh, yes. What is the SUMP, so the Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan to you? Is it just a political process? Is it a technical study to define specific projects? Or is it a partnership approach to help build a shared project? You can make various choices, I think. So, well, as we can see now, all the participants might answer. Oh, there is more answering. Nice. Okay, nice. So now it seems that the majority of the audience thinks that I'll see the SUMP as a partnership approach to help build a shared project. One more time, thank you very much for your participation. We will go back now with the presentation of Thibaut Descroux, which is from the the Lyon City Agencies, and is, if I'm not wrong, a project manager in urban planning and mobility. And he will present the SUMP concept and use the example of Lyon, because Lyon is a French city that set up a planification process very close to the SUMP. So please, Mr. Descroux, the floor is yours.
Yes, hello everybody. So my name is Thibaut Descroux. I am a transport planner in Lyon Town Planning Agency. Lyon Town Planning Agency is a non-profit association working for engineering in. So we are financed by 40 partners as Metropole of Lyon, the Greater Lyon Council. We are also financed by, for example, by Citral, that is the Urban Public Transport Authority, but we are also financed by state, etc. So I work at many different scales, especially in transport planning and in urban planning. So today I will give you a few issues about a new planning approach approaches as an introduction. So to begin, I would like to talk about the basics of public participation. Then I will talk about sustainable urban mobility plans from my experience in Lyon City, because Lyon City in France was the first one implementing a SUMP. It was in 1997, so that's not so new, but it's still true. It's still interesting to show. I've got some difficulties using my PowerPoint.
Well, if you want, Thibaut, I can share your PowerPoint on my screen and you just tell me when we pass the screen, if it seems fine for you.
Yes.
Okay, let's do that.
Do you manage to?
Just give me one moment and I will share it. No. Well, I will share my screen now, and usually it will work. And here we are. Is everyone seeing the PowerPoint now? Oh. Well, sorry, so here is the first slide. And tell me just when you want to change it. And I will change it.
Yes, so you can switch to the next one. So as I was explaining, so I will give you a few basics about general public participation into planning projects. But as workers, you know those issues. I will explain the case of Lyon Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan, because as I said, it was the first one in France, and it's still interesting to show how in Lyon we try to plan both public transport and urban planning. I will also talk about how Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan is a tool to help stakeholders building and sharing a vision, not only projects, but a vision, with very strategic targets, and especially mobility targets. And I will explain you how we also work with Morocco, Rabat in Morocco, helping them coordinating urban planning and transport planning. And then to finish, I would like also have a few words about trips and project modeling, because I have understood that a few of them have used modeling during their projects. So next slide. Antoine.
I'm trying to, but oh, I don't know why this. Yes, sorry. Here we are.
So concerning public participation, as you know, there are several involvement levels, so that the local authorities can communicate and inform people and other stakeholders about their projects. So it is the first step. Local authority inform inhabitants, inform citizens, inform other stakeholders. It is the step number one. But of course, local authority also need knowledge, the knowledge of the inhabitants, the knowledge of the other stakeholders. So it is useful for local authority to consult those other stakeholders. It is the second step. But sometimes we, of course, need also to know the opinion of the other stakeholder, and especially the opinion of users and citizens. It is a third step. We've got workshops, for example, between those stakeholders. And then the other step is how to collaborate with, for example, citizens associations working together and working with the manager of the project. So, and the fifth step is how to create a real empowerment. So that's really a theoretical concepts, but you will explain us concretely how during your projects you have implemented those concepts. So right now, concerning sustainable urban mobility plan, I will try to start from my experience in Lyon, because I help Citral. Citral is a public transport authority in Lyon. It is the manager of the Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan in Lyon, and I work with them since several years. So next slide. What is important to understand is that SUMP is a tool to build and to share global orientations, strategic orientations concerning mobility. So that was quite new in France during the 90s, and especially in Lyon. Lyon was the first one trying to work with many stakeholders, not concerning projects, public transport projects, road projects, but first of all, working on strategic orientations, and especially orientations concerning modal sharing and modal sharing targets. For example, here you've got a small schema, small graphic, showing what was the targets in Lyon, reducing the car traffic, the car use during the years. So every stakeholders were agreed to start reducing car use in Lyon City Council, and to continue improving public transport trips and public transport modal sharing during the years. What was also important to understand is that stakeholders were agreed to give less room to car, but more room for public transport, more room for soft mobility. They were also agreed to manage parking, and to manage how facilitate the parking of the residents and of the customers of local shops. To finish, something very important in Lyon during the 90s was to take care of underprivileged districts, because in France during the 90s there were some problems in some underprivileged districts, especially in Lyon, and it was really important to take care of this district, especially by bringing in those districts public transport to connect those districts with the city center. So as you can see, those targets are so strategical, so important, that we can say that SUMP is not only a technical but also, and first of all, a political project. And it was interesting to have a look at your answer. You were both agreed that to say that SUMP is important important process to share different point of views between technicians, but also a political project. So SUMP is a partnership, a work approach rather than a study. So it is important to understand that at the end of the SUMP, documents have to be shared. First of all, the diagnosis phase must be shared by most of stakeholders. And then issues also have to be shared before actions in the documents, SUMP documents. So it is very important that many stakeholders then feel really responsible for the implementation of those actions. Because if, for example, in Lyon, Citral, the public transport authority, is the manager of the SUMP, of course, Citral, this public transport authority, don't have to implement all the actions of the SUMP. So the implementation of several actions have to be shared between different stakeholders, for example, between municipalities and between Greater Metropole of Lyon Council. And every stakeholder has to understand the most important issues in order to be able to implement itself the actions. And SUMP has also to be an occasion to appropriate those issues, not only by politicians, but also technicians and also economic stakeholders and inhabitants. So that's why the public participation is important in the first steps of a SUMP to help everybody understanding the issues and everybody also continue the SUMP dynamic after the process and after the SUMP is voted. Next slide. So this is a schema to show you different steps of the SUMP in Lyon, the last one. We can see that there are four major steps. So the start, beginning, then the diagnosis phase, and then the guidelines. I would say the step where everybody is agreed about major stakes. Mobility stakes, and then the last step, the fourth step, is the step when everybody work on actions and projects. So what is important on this schema is to understand that the SUMP is managed by a project team, a small project team. But this team has to work with other stakeholders, and so they have to work during workshops. So you can see many technicians workshop during the first step, but also the second step, the fourth step. So those technicians workshop are the occasion to really work on what everybody knows. In order to work with citizens and citizens association, you also can have workshops with citizens association. So citizens association are really specialized on mobility issues, for example, biking, cycling issues, or for example, security. It's also important to work with inhabitants. So that's why in Lyon, Citral, the manager of the SUMP, has decided to create a focus group with inhabitants, with users, in order to understand behaviors, mobility behaviors, and to understand how those citizens could change their behaviors. So as you can see, we manage those focus group at 3 steps during the diagnosis and at the end of the process, in order to talk with them concerning actions. And to finish, there was also a website in order to catch online public contributions from the beginning to the end of the process, so that people, inhabitants, could react and could give their opinion concerning mobility in Lyon. So to finish, in France, SUMP is a clear legal framework, but the law is not very demanding about terms of citizens' involvement, and SUMP management are really free to think how they can involve citizens in the city. Next step. this to let you understand that in Lyon there is a tradition of planning tradition since the 90s, and we often say in Lyon that it is very important to coordinate urban planning and mobility planning. So as you can see, the first master plan in Lyon was imagined during the 90s. It was Lyon 2010 vision. It has been voted in 1992, and a second master plan has been voted in 1920 concerning 2030 vision. And at the same time, we have managed 3 different SUMPs. The first one, as I said, has been voted in 1997, and it has given targets for the year 2005. And then 2 other SUMPs have been worked and voted. But what is important to understand is that we really try to find a balance between those master plans and those mobility plans, so that both are really as coherent as possible. Next one. So this is an example of what I say. Here is the main map of the master plan in the 90s. So Métropole of Lyon master plan main map. On this map, you can see that we've got historical urban centralities in the center of Lyon city, of course, but also in other main municipalities, and you can see that on the map as yellow points. But of course, the master plan is a tool to think about urban development in urban area. So this master plan has given the targets about inhabitants development and jobs development in the city. And on this map, you can see the red points where the residential or economical development, urban development, was targeted for the next years. And to finish, during the 90s, the development strategy was to build the urban development on the east side of the urban area. What's interesting to see in the next slide concerning the SUMP. This is the map, the main map on the SUMP, the 1997 Lyon SUMP. As you can see, there is a coherence with the master plan map, because the main issue in the SUMP was to connect underprivileged downtown districts with the city center. So you can see on this map in yellow underprivileged downtown districts, and it was very important that the SUMP in Lyon could help connecting those districts. It was also the time when stakeholders, and especially Citral, understood that metro was expensive. We had, during the beginning of the 90s, 3 metro lines, but Citral thought that it could be a better idea to implement tramway, because tramway was cheaper than metro. So that's why the first SUMP in Lyon had given the priority to the tramway implementation, and especially lines T1 and lines T2 that you can see on this map. And what is interesting is that the tramway T2 was a project helping to to implement the urban development to the east part of the city, as I explained before in the master plan. So you can see that master plan and SUMP was both implementing urban development in the east side of the city, and especially thanks to tramway T2. To finish on this map, you can also have a look. You can see that there are also other projects as T6, T8, T3, and it's interesting to understand that those projects T6 and T8 will just be implemented during the next years. So it is only 30 years later. So different SUMP in Lyon have what is important to understand in that in Lyon, maps is very important in documents, and especially in urban planning documents and sub-documents. And voilà, it's important to use the tool of the map to share the knowledge and to share the vision between different stakeholders. Next one. SUMP is also a tool to help stakeholders working at different scales and to plan at different scales. On the left, you've got the last map of 2017 SUMP in Lyon. So it is a public transport project maps. But as you can see, then the SUMP is followed by different studies, and especially tramway corridor studies, and also, of course, urban projects, urban development projects. And those documents, master plans and SUMP, are a tool to help different stakeholders working on those different scales. Next slide. Yes, this is an example to show you how we try to cooperate with Morocco, and especially Rabat, because there is a cooperation between Metropole of Lyon and Rabat. And as you can see, it has been 10 years that we work with Moroccan stakeholders, and we try to help them also work on master plan. It is the map on the left. We work with them as we have done in Lyon to try to draw maps about urban development areas, but also public transport main corridors in Rabat, but also with other municipalities of Salé, Temara, for example. And on the right side, this is a map from the land use plan. It has been done by the Paris Town Planning Agency. And what is important to understand is that it is very important to think transport development and urban development at the same time. So that's why it is also important during SUMP process to involve also urban planners, not only transport planners, but urban planners from the beginning of the process. Next slide. Yeah, so to finish, I just would like to have a few words about modeling, especially TRIPS modeling and environmental modeling. You can switch to the next slide. In Lyon Council area, we've got a TRIP model. So it helps us to model for example, road traffic, as you can see on the left map. And it is also a mean to modelize air pollution, as you can see on the central map. But what is important to understand is that modeling has not been used during the SUMP to build and to imagine transport scenarios. It has only been used to evaluate the pollution impact of each scenario, because it is the law in France. The law asks to evaluate pollution impact of transport projects of SUMPs. But what I would like to understand, to explain you, and perhaps to discuss with different experts of different cities, is that modeling is not sufficient, and it is important. Modeling is very often expensive. It's very long to build a model, to test scenarios, and what I would like perhaps to discuss with you at the end of your presentation is how to balance between experts' point of view and modelization point of view. Sometimes, of course, experts' point of view are more important to build projects and to discuss with stakeholders and politicians. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope that is a few issues to continue discussions with you. Thank you. Antoine, your microphone.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you very much, Thibault, for your presentation based on the Lyon case studies. If there is if everyone in the audience has a question, please ask them within the chat box, and we will then exchange a little bit about that. And if and apparently seems to be that there is not questions. Well, if there is no questions within the chat box, I think that we are not that late, but we can just still continue the webinar with the presentation of the Pioneer Cities solutions. So as we saw during the presentation of Mr. Decroux, we see a kind of example of some corridor urbanism, and we will now assist to a solution that has some common point with the one we saw now. So this solution is held from our Pioneer Cities Treviso, and the presentation will be done by Francesca Liguori, which is the referent scientist in the ARPA Veneto. So please, Francesca, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Hello. Let me share the screen, please, and I will start in a minute. Can you see it?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay, thank you for the invitation to this interesting webinar and series of webinars. As a Remedio leader partner, I have the opportunity to tell you about the innovative approach that has been tested in this project, thanks to the MED funds, and that is that it has been implemented in 4 pilot cities. I will have the chance to tell you about the implementation in Treviso. Treviso is my beautiful town. Is a medieval town, 30 kilometers away from Venice. It's sometimes called the Little Venice because, like Venice, the ancient city is crisscrossed with channels, as you can see in these pictures. But despite its medium size as a city, Treviso is a worldwide famous for its manufacturing and business profile, which makes it one of the richest and most active provinces in Italy. But with business, obviously, comes traffic and congestions, especially because Treviso, unfortunately, lacks a real ring road for traffic traveling in the north-east-southwest direction. So for Treviso and its inhabitants, what once was a country road is now the highest congested road, the nightmare of every commuter who approaches the city. This is precisely the pilot area chosen by Remedio project, the West Road. The road is 5 kilometers long and it crosses 2 municipalities. It has an official name, but no one knows what is it. For everyone, it is well known as the West Road. Traffic jam and high congestion have been causing in these last years a dropping of many trade and business activities, shop and commercial operators in this road. Against this trend that was leading to a progressive depreciation of the axis and its surroundings, the municipality of Treviso understood that sharing a new common vision for the axis, together with the main trade and business operators, could have been a winning lever for reverse this process and initiate a requalification of the urban area. So it's the innovative idea put forward by Remedio was to transform this this road affected by traffic into horizontal condominium. But what are the horizontal condominium? Some of you may be familiar with the concept of a river contract. In some way, the horizontal condominium is proposed as a participatory governance entity that actively engages the different subjects who gravitates along the road and which become a community that agrees on common objectives and begin to demand and co-design remedies for their own territory. Even before the approval of the Remedio project, the municipality of Treviso was promoting the horizontal condominium approach as part of an initiative called I Love Strada Ovest in Classe A. That means I love West Road in A class. Because for them it was particularly important the sustainability energy issues and the adaptation to climate change. Thanks to the Remedio project and the MED funds, the initiative has expanded its scope of intervention towards the profile of sustainable mobility of the road axis. The horizontal condominium entity in Treviso has taken now the form of a non-profit association. Its founding fathers are those 12 champions of local business. On the association website, that you can see the address on the presentation, on the association website, is it possible to find video message from some of these founding fathers giving the endorsement to join the association and promote the redesign of the West Road toward a low carbon lifestyle. After the closure of the Remedio project, that was a sort of living lab of the horizontal condominium in Treviso, the association is now working on 3 main areas of intervention: energy saving, urban mobility with emphasis on promoting cycling, urban greening, and adaptation to climate change. A roadmap has been identified that foresees many steps and actions, like agreements for commodities, systems, and services to be signed by the members of the association, the owners of the buildings, and or of the business. For example, for last mile freight logistic, waste management, water and energy service supplies. Other typology of intervention are tutoring for check-up environmental and energetic profile for housing renewal and building refurbishment. Purchasing groups or consortia for green and thermal electricity. A common energy management system in collaboration with the municipality, with the aim of obtaining energy efficiency certificates and incentives for energy saving and promotion of renewable energy sources. Lobbying for promoting infrastructural renewal and investments by the municipality for the road access services, like the lighting systems, the green and park areas, enhancement of the public transport offer, and once again, action plan for a single building and area, like some suggestive idea, like the Kyoto supermarket in 5 steps, or the Kyoto hotel in 6 steps. These are buildings and that are along the West Road. So for them, they are proposing something very specific. A special emphasis is also on cycling mobility. With its middle size and fairly flat topography, Treviso is a city with a strong cultural heritage for cycling. As a part of the funds of the Remedio project, in fact, was invested on the expansion for the bike sharing system. The ones that was previously settled in Treviso was expanded with a further 9 stations along the West Road. This initiative, in addition to offering citizens and commuters an alternative way of traveling short medium distance, has also a strong symbolic meaning. The existing urban bike sharing system was, in fact, almost entirely dedicated to the city center. The 9 additional stations along the road now serve as both a park and ride alternative to daily commuters to the city center, and in addition give a sense of ownership and identity to the communities living along this suburban area. Communities often suffering of social exclusion. So, going to my conclusion, I would like to underline that the main recipe for the success of the participatory governance body in Treviso was certainly the strong commitment of the local population, who believed that a different place where to live, work, go to school, or even just traveling daily can make a difference. For those of you who will decide to come and visit Treviso and its West Road, I will be very happy to introduce you the members of the association, but above all, the visionary father of this simple but strong idea, the engineer Paolo Pierobon, the former manager of the environmental department of the municipality of Treviso. His role was recognized by Europe with itself with the awarding for the Ordinary Hero Award last March. So I give a special thank to him for this idea and project. For any further information about the project, we will see these website references, and I'm at your disposal for any question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francesca Liguori, for this presentation. I would like to ask now if there is some question from the audience. And one more time, if you have question, please ask them within the chat box. I may have just one question, Francesca, about the association that was at the very first step of the process. Did this association was already existent, or was it something created after that they were the SUMP projects?
Okay, it was founded during the project, and thanks to a sort of incentive by the participation of Remedio, it was the occasion to put the people around the table, because there was already this idea of promoting the requalification renewal of the road by the municipality and other local business operators. But thanks also to the fact that Remedio was posing some
money on the table, or
they work 3 years starting this initiative. Also found some difficulties were firstly to understand the legal framework of the association. At the end, the no-profit choice was the best one that give the possibility for further initiative by their own decision. And okay, they are still urging their association, recruiting other owners or citizens that live along the road.
Okay, so there is a kind of local implementation, so you can't be a part of this association if you are not from the corridor or the condominium area. Okay.
They as a condominium, they describe it in the 5 kilometer long is divided in floors.
Okay.
There are the neighbor part of the area, so not just the first line in front of the road, but the whole neighbor, and they have been considering which businesses and typology of houses and buildings are there in terms of renewal, which are the needs, which are the services within this neighborhood. So they are mapping and analyzing each neighbor in detail.
Okay, nice. Thank you very much for your answer. I just saw also a question from Thibaut Descroux, which asks you about what about the evaluation of car traffic decrease or modal sharing? Did the car traffic decrease thanks to the bike with the installation of the bike? I don't know if you have data now, because I know that it's the implementation of bike sharing station is quite new. But did you observe a reduce of the car traffic in this corridor?
Okay. Thanks for your question. Actually, in Remedio, we applied also an integrated modeling tool to analyze the effect, firstly, as a scenario, and then as a consequence of the implementation of the bike sharing system. And we had the first results of the first less than a year implementation of the further nice bike stations. Unfortunately, unfortunately, as you all know, there's now the COVID period, and okay, the bike sharing is still a suitable solution for, okay, not in rainy days, but on the other hand, the fact that people are very worried to take the public transportation, that are using the car, so even much more than before.
Yeah.
And okay, in these days we have some schools that are closed. They are doing online lessons, so we can see less traffic on the axis. But anyway, we do approach the problem in a technical point of view by an integrated modeling tool that I guess Anastasia is going to present later for the case of Thessaloniki, but we do also apply in Treviso. And not only for the analysis of the different emissions and impacts of shift to modality from bikes to cars, but also for other solution of fluidification of the traffic jams. That was of interest of the municipality of Treviso, because many of the cross along the road are now by lights, and they would like to instead implement a roundabout. So other analysis that we made were about these solutions. Obviously, other solution of much more offer of public transportation, divertising the attractors within the road, because for many reasons there are some possibility to change solution and so on. So these are all analyzed thanks to this integrated modeling tool.
Okay, thank you. We also had a question from Christos Joel Dassis, but I think you did answer to that. The question was, I would like to ask about the environmental impact of the interventions. Have they been measured? But as you precised, due to the COVID situation, all the data, the production of the data seems not irrelevant, but very different from what has been expected at the initiative. Yes,
but let me do a precision. Okay, I measure. What do you mean by measure? Because I'm okay. I work for the Environmental Protection Agency, whose one of his scope is measure impact of the various environmental issues. And in fact, we work also in monitoring air quality by very many stations within a city with different exposure to traffic or suburban areas. And okay, there's a strong effect on NOx emissions when you implement some actions in respect to traffic. But unfortunately, we in the Po Valley in Italy, we have as for the particular matter issues, that is a big issue that we for which we register of exceedances of the European limit. There's the big impact of the biomass burning. So in winter time, the most impact for the PM10 and PM2.5 concentration is coming from the biomass burning, because in many households, in many houses, they are using biomass because it's cheaper, is trendy, and something like that. So
okay, but it has nothing to deal with the Remedio project. It's something different that it's difficult to measure.
We are dealing with it as an environmental protection agency. Is one of our commitment. So we are also working on it and studying and proposing analysis of the impact and possible policies solutions for that. Okay.
Well, thank you very much, Francesca Libori, for this intervention and your time that you dedicated to answer to the questions. Now we are going to present another project from Remedio. For those who don't really know, I may introduce a little bit what is Remedio. Remedio was a European project that was part of the first step of the UTC. So between 2016 and 2019, there were one of the 7 projects called Remedio, and solutions from pioneer cities that are presented here today are from this project. So now the floor is to Anastasia Pupcu, which is a research associate at the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, and she will present the road access redesign in Thessaloniki.
Thank you, Antoine. Good morning to everyone. My name is Anastasia Pupcu, and as according to the introduction of Antoine, I'm going to describe to you and to present you the effort that we have done in Thessaloniki so as to plan the redesign of a main road access in the city of Thessaloniki so as to become an urban operational road access for all the people. This was an effort that has been funded by the Indirect Med and was performed in the framework of the project Remedio. This redesign of the road access it was planned considering the idea of horizontal condominium that has been already presented by Francesca. So we really wanted all the citizens, all the people that are working along this road axis, the people that are having businesses small or large in this area, the organization and association that are providing transport in the city. We want all of us to agree and to be committed to the same goal, which was to try to decrease the traffic load, the congestion along the specific road axis, and of course to try to improve the quality of our life and the quality of the environment. This is the main idea of the redesign and of course of the horizontal condominium. So let me give you some more information about the pilot area in Thessaloniki in the framework of Remedio project. The pilot area has the name Eastern Horizontal Axis of Thessaloniki. It is a road axis which is about 6 kilometers long. It is connecting the southeastern part of the city with the city center. In fact, if some of you have already visited Thessaloniki by airplane, I'm sure that you have passed along this road, so that from the airport to arrive to the city center. So it is a road that it is highly used and a very important road in the city of Thessaloniki. It is characterized by congestion for many different reasons. The first one is that this road axis is crossing 2 different municipalities and is crossing areas which are very densely populated. Also, the road axis is characterized by many different uses. So there are a lot of commercial activities that take place along the road. There are, of course, recreational activities. There are cafeterias, there are bars. There are also health services, health institutions that are providing services to the people of Thessaloniki. And there are also some schools along the axis. As you understand, all these activities result in difficulty in the transportation along the road, and one also of the main problems of the specific road access is the illegal parking. So a lot of people, for example, use their cars to stop over, let's say, a cafeteria to buy a coffee, to buy a sandwich, and so they continue their travel to the city center. However, because of these habits, they are creating a lot of traffic jam and a lot of, let's say, congestion in this road. And also the road is attracting some tourists because there are some historical monuments that are located along the road axis. For all this reason, we have been thinking that we should try to upgrade this road and try to, let's say, create better conditions in transportation. In order to plan the redesign of this road axis, we followed a very detailed participatory approach methodology. As presented previously by Thibault, we try to let's say, have a lot of different activities so as to inform the people and the stakeholders, to involve them, to collaborate with them, to consult, and also to empower the stakeholders and also the citizens. We started with open public discussions, events, because we wanted, first of all, to develop a common vision for the upgrade of the urban access. We wanted to hear all the voices and understand what does an urban operation access for all mean. What does it mean for the citizen? What does it mean? This phrase mean for the businessman? What does this phrase mean also for the disabled people? And I'm saying that because one of the schools for disabled people is located along the axis, meaning that there are many disabled people that are using it. So we wanted to hear all the voices and to try to develop this common vision. All this information have been collected and have been presented in, let's say, some workshops that followed this open discussion. These workshops were more technical and were more close with less people, usually with the stakeholders. In these workshops, we try to, let's say, identify objectives and, let's say, technical issues that have to be faced. These workshops were very important for the urban planners that with which we collaborated in the framework Remedio, and which were responsible to develop, let's say, different proposals for the redesign of the streets. So there wasn't only one solution, but there were 7 or 8, let's say, different proposals for the redesign. These proposals were presented in public consultation events and in workshops with social actors. And there has been also an open online poll where all the social actors and all the stakeholders could vote for the proposal that, according to their opinion, was the best one. After this, let's say, participatory planning and approach, we finally got a solution, and this solution was presented in the citizens of the city with in open activities, which were very interesting and very fancy, because we tried in a generally easy way to present the best solution. During these activities, a lot of people were coming, were asking about how the road can be redesigned. So they also expressed their opinion. So it was a very interactive activities, and it was quite interesting. Let me give you some picture of which were the different proposals that were proposed to the stakeholders and to the social actors. As you can see, the proposals were quite many, and there were different considerations concerning a new modern bus lane that had to be created, about a bicycle two-way lane that has also to be created so as to promote the cycling profile of the road. Of course, only one solution was the best one, and was selected, and I have to admit that all the stakeholders and also all the social actors, they were very clear about which solution was the best one. So the final result and the final solution was decided with the majority of the votes from all the stakeholders and the social actors that participated in the let's say this participatory approach that we followed. In this slide, you can see a graphical design of how is the road currently, and how it's going to be redesigned, and how it's going to be transformed. You can see that there is a modern bus lane that will be created. There are some walking corridors, and there is also two-way cycle paths to promote the cycling. These are also two photos that can show better how is the road now and how we expect this road to be transformed. Of course, it is not only the bus lane, and it's not only the two-way bike lane that we would like to construct, but we are expecting from the redesign even more. We're expecting this road access to become alive, so park areas are foreseen for the children to play and for the citizens to enjoy. Of course, it is important that the environmental and the bioclimatic conditions to be improved. For this reason, also some interventions are foreseen. We're expecting to solve somehow the problem of the illegal parking, so new parklands should be created. And of course, we would like also to promote intermodality, and for this reason, some friendly streets are foreseen for the pedestrian to easily reach the metro station of the city that is now being constructed, or to allow the pedestrians to reach the sea transportation station, because the road is very close to the sea. Of course, in order to commit all the social actors and also the stakeholders, it was also really important to try to depict that there is also an environmental benefit because of the redesign of the road. The traffic expert has estimated that this redesign will result in a reduction of the traffic. The lower limit of this traffic reduction was expected to be about 10%. So we have developed in the framework of product remedio and modeling tool that can help us to assess the environmental benefits of the mobility solutions, not only in Thessaloniki, but also in the other cities like the Split or the Lourdes and Treviso, in which pilot activities were foreseen. However, in the case of Thessaloniki, we have estimated that the 10% reduction in the use of passenger cars and motorcycles will result in the improvement of the energy efficiency of the road access. And about 20% reduction of the fuel consumption was estimated. And of course, some benefits and improvements in the atmospheric environment were also foreseen. Depending on the pollutants, we have estimated reduction of emissions or considerations, which were also once again up to 20%. At the end of the Remedio project, and after that, a city consortium has been established. Of course, the main idea was to try to exploit and to find financing tools that could, let's say, transform this plan of the redesign and this vision to the reality. There have been some MOUs that were signed, MOUs involving authorities and social actors, so as to try to more concretely engage the authorities and the society to the solution. And finally, a methodology of this experience has been written so as to try to transfer it to other cities. Of course, as the Remedio project as a whole has prepared the participatory methodology plan, it is one of the deliverables of the project which can be used in case of replication cities. And also we have also prepared the transferability plan that can also support all the cities that would like to repeat, let's say, the same methodology of Remedio in other cities. This is more or less my presentation. If you would like to learn more, you can visit, of course, the social media website of Remedio, or you can send an email to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Popku. Is there any question concerning this presentation? If there is, could you please put them in the chat box? I just note that we are a little bit late on time, so if in 30 seconds there is no question, I propose you to pass directly to the presentation of Panagiotis Papantoniou. Let's wait maybe a little bit more. Okay, so well, if there is no more question, I would just like to introduce, first of all, thank you very much, Anastasia Puku, for this presentation. So we saw for now 2 solutions from the Remedio project, and they were based on condominium solutions. And now we will change a little bit the scale of the solution proposed, because we are now will be focusing on the university campus. So the presentation will be done by Dr. Panagiotis Papantoniou, who is a civil transportation engineer and research associate at the National Technical University of Athens.
Antoine, thank you very much for the introduction, and good morning to everyone. I will try to be as quick as possible, considering that, as you said, we have extended a little bit the time. So my presentation refers to the mobility plans for university campuses, and I will try to describe and make you familiar with the key outputs of a project that is called the SUMP, and has to do with the mobility from to and inside the university campuses. Proceeding with the outline of this presentation, just one slide about the background and the objectives, and then I will say some things about the methodological approach that we had, consisting of an interview and a questionnaire in the first phases, in the first steps of this project, and then the key outputs of the project that refer to 2 action plans that have been developed, and I will describe you the template of the action plan, then a roadmap of how to implement the action plan, and finally a system, a mobility service system that has been developed in order to make the IT solutions more familiar to university campuses. So, about the background of this presentation, we will, I think everyone is familiar with sustainable urban mobility plans that define a set of interrelated measures designed to satisfy the mobility needs of people. We focus on university campuses. This is the focus area of the project and of this presentation. And we can say that sometimes A university campus is similar to an urban model, and it could be used as the test area for mobility policy and tools. And this is something that we used it a lot in our research, and we deeply believe that especially the university campuses that are located inside urban areas can be a very good test bed for mobility policies that can apply to the overall city. But these are things that we identified them through this SUMP project. So the objectives, the key objectives of this project refer to the fact that its university campus should analyze its framework site in order to obtain and define the state-of-the-art of data, policies, and planning instruments with regard to two different types of mobility. We investigated the mobility from and to the campus, and in a second approach, we investigated the mobility inside its campus. And of course, the integration with the overall urban mobility. And as I said before, there are three outputs that were extracted: an action plan, a roadmap, and an ICT model. So starting quickly with the methodological approach, a survey has been developed and implemented within the framework of this project. And this survey consisted of two different types that I will present you in the next slide: a questionnaire and an interview to stakeholders. There are several universities participated, 7 universities participated that were also the partners of the project: the Catanzaro University, the National Technical University of Athens that I belong to, the Universities of Malta, Valencia, Split, Cyprus, and Bologna. So these were the partners, and in these universities we had to implement this methodological procedure. So the first part consists of the questionnaire, and so we developed a questionnaire including 5 different topics. Some questions about the current mobility in the university, in the campus, in each campus. So in order to present the current mobility of the participants, both regarding mobility from, to, and inside the campus. Then after the current mobility, the second area referred to the desired mobility. So we ask the participants which is the desired mobility they want. Third section, the mobility problems. Fourth section, the proposed measures, policies, and tools. So participants had to evaluate specific measures, policies, and tools, and some demographic characteristics on the 5th section. On the other hand, the second methodological approach was an interview which aimed to collect qualitative data, the experts' views, the stakeholders' views of each university regarding several thematic areas that are important in these mobility investigations, about soft modes infrastructure, public transport, car-related issues, road infrastructure, environmental issues, mobility management, freight infrastructure, and ICT tools, and their overall approach to SUMPs. So we developed as I said, we implemented 2 types of collecting data: quantitative data through the questionnaire and qualitative data through the interview. And as you can see in this table that are 8 rows, because University of Valencia has 1 campus outside urban area and 2 campuses inside urban area. So they made a separate analysis in these campuses. We have some characteristics about the location of the area, how many students each university has, and how many people that are working in the university, how many questionnaires that were collected, and questionnaires we have set a limit or a down limit of 100 questionnaires, and interviews of stakeholders that had to answer the interview. So in total, more than 1,000 questionnaires have been developed and 36 expert interviews. Now proceeding to the key outputs of this project on the mobility of university campuses. The first very important output refers to the development of 2 action plans. And I say 2 action plans because we have separated the action plan regarding universities inside urban areas and universities outside urban areas. And you can see in the next slide, it is the circle. So what we did is the University of Bologna, that was responsible mainly for this output, is that we we carefully studied the LTIS circle with the 12 steps of sustainable urban mobility plans. And based on these key characteristics and the key task, we have developed another, let's say, circle about the action plan for university campuses, which is consists of 4 different steps. The first step is the study steps, which, as you can see, includes 5 actions that are presented in the orange color above. And the studies part has to do in order to make a review and identify which is the situation in the campus. Then the plan phase with the stakeholders, the definition of the goals and the KPIs, and the community communication. The third step is the do step, the implementation of the action plan, and the 4th step is the check and act with evaluation of KPIs and the corrective actions. So this is the our circle of the action plan, and we have also made some time estimations that the study section should include no more than 10 months, the plan section 8 months, the do action 4 months, and in total there are 22 months that we proposed that an action plan in university campus needs. Proceeding to the second key output, the second key output is a roadmap. So having in mind an action plan, then through a roadmap, how we can proceed with the actions that are included in the action plan. The roadmap is divided, that we developed, and the University of Valencia was responsible, has 2 sections, a strategic part and a detailed part. And you can see in this slide that we have the target. 2018 was the year of the project, and we have target every 2, 5, and 10 years. And you can see as well in the detailed part that there are several parameters that should be included in including the milestones, the actions, the description measures, the actions, let's say, the timeline, the budget, who is responsible. So it's quite an interesting tool that can be a roadmap of the actions that are already planned. And finally, just a small word about the ecosystem that has been developed, again from University of Valencia. It is, let's say, it has been developed, but not in order to work, just to have it as a testbed. It's a type of mobility as a service. It consists of 6 phases: the users, the data acquisition, the input, the aggregated information system, the dissemination tools, and the output. And you can see just in a picture that it has been developed in an application, including the transport operators or the user, and which data you have, and the input that you state about the start and end point of your move, inside the campus or from to the campus, you can have all this information, and then the system proposes to you which is the best route that you can take in order to go to your destination and how much time you need and all these things. So just to conclude, the produced, as I said in the presentation, there are three main outputs apart from the methodological approach. The produced action plans represent a unique model and future tailored templates adaptable for different universities. And of course, they can be a testbed for cities as well. The roadmap model for the implementation of the actions describes steps and tools and ensures commitment for decision makers, which is very important, not only to have the action plans, but to have a roadmap on how to implement them. And finally, the ecosystem that has been developed is a platform, an ICT platform, enabling data collection, planning, management, and monitoring. But I say again that it was developed only for as a template and didn't work within the framework of the project. Thank you very much. This was my presentation about the mobility university campuses.
Thank you very much, Dr. Papantonio. I don't know if there is various questions within the audience to raise. Well, there is a first one. Is the involvement of local authorities, such as a municipality in which university is located, to develop the mobility plans for the universities? So
yes, thank you, Christos, for the questions. Yes, in our approach, in all universities, in the stakeholders group that we have developed, there was a representative of each local municipality. And through our analysis and through our project, we identified that the universities that are located inside the city center have quite more engagement with the city than the universities that are located outside the city center. And this is also, you can see it from the representatives of the municipalities, that they care more if the university is inside the city, because it has quite a big effect in the whole mobility system of the city, and they care less if it is outside the city and it doesn't have quite a big effect.
Okay. Nice. Well, thank you very much for your answer. Is there any other answer from the audience? Well, no. So should we pass now to the time of short? Thank you very much. Sorry, for your presentation. Should we make now a small conclusion about what? Oh, sorry. Panagiotis, there is one last question about. No, it's okay. About the urban planning project in the Scopus. Is there from the solution you've experimented urban planning projects, and that not are only mobility projects, but more urban planning projects?
Our approach was to make a template about indicative action plans and indicative roadmaps. So in our project, each university campus did not implement any urban plan project. It was just development of templates and not urban planning. It was mainly focused on mobility.
Okay. And is this kind of plan already? Let's say, is there any university that was trying to use the tool you set up?
To be honest, we don't know. This is very important, and we discussed that we should have a next step. In order to see if this can be adaptable and if it works, but there is no. After the ending of the project, there is no input on if any of the universities incorporated these actions and this action plan in their daily routine. From my side, the National Technical University of Athens does not proceed to any action. But I hope some of the other universities may have took this advantage.
And we can imagine that now with the current COVID situation, the presential of the students also change. I think I guess in universities, a student don't have to go to the university also, and maybe change the way we see.
Yes, correct.
So, okay. Well, thank you very much for this presentation. And now let's make a small conclusion with Mr. Decroux about what has been done during this webinar.
Yes, thank you very much for the three presentations. Perhaps I've got some reactions to say that the first examples of Treviso urban roads and Thessaloniki urban roads are in fact quite typical examples of what we can find in other European cities. For example, in Lyon, we've got same cases of streets that have been more and more crossed by car traffic. I think that in the suburb of European cities, we've got many cases of streets who became more and more crossed during the 80s and the 90s because of urban sprawl. Urban sprawl has generated many trips between workplace, shop places, and housing places. More and more people were living outside of the cities, so those streets have become some roads with more and more supermarkets, hotels, and other places where the car was the best mode to go there. But I think that since 10 years in many cities, many European cities, politicians and technicians of municipalities wanted to get more urban quality in those areas. So what I would really focus concerning Treviso and Thessaloniki examples is that the main purpose was to bring more urban quality, and it is both an urban project and a mobility project. And what is also very interesting is to see how stakeholders have worked together, not only private stakeholders but also public stakeholders, and that's very interesting. And I think I will keep those examples and discuss this example with my colleagues working of such cases. And just to finish, I would also say that some politicians are sometimes afraid to reduce the place of car. For example, they are afraid to reduce the car lanes on these roads. But what is important to remember is that when you give less room to cars, some car traffic disappear. Let me give an example. In Paris or in Lyon, we've got some examples where the car room has been decreased, and the evaluation has shown that 30% of the traffic has completely disappeared. 30% of the traffic has changed its way. So it doesn't use the same road, it uses another road. And 33% of the trips have used no more car, but public transport or soft modes. So 33%, but 33% of the car traffic has really disappeared after the implementation of the project. And just concerning the last presentation about campus program, we have many examples of campus in European cities where the university has got some urban project. Some university have to build more and more buildings, so they've got to delete some green places and to build in order to build. So so those campus are more and more built, and it's important to work on mobility and, for example, car parking. And we've got same cases in Lyon of campus who have asked improving the public transport network linking campus and city center. So the Public Transport Authority of Lyon has improved public transport connection between those campus and city center, for example, by implementing a tramway line, as I explained to begin. For example, one campus in Lyon has been built, has been connected with tramway T1 and tramway T4 and T4, and during the next years with other tramway lines. But what is interesting to understand is that thanks to this public transport mass transit systems, students are able to go to work during the day into the campus, but on the contrary, during the evening or during the weekend, they are able to go outside of the campus and to live in the city center. So, on the one hand, it's a good thing, but on the other hand, campus might be empty, more and more empty during the evening or during the weekend or during holidays, and that's a problem that we've got in Lyon City. Campus are more and more empty during the evening, the weekend, and some campus becomes a bit desert during some days, and it's important to understand that public transport facilities also have impacts of the housing of students, and students are more free to live in the city center, for example. So there are also consequences on urban development.
Well,
it's okay for me.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Deco. Thank you to all the participants for this presentation of today. They were very interesting. Thank you also for the audience for the attention. We just remind you that if you want more information about the UTC call and the LDS system, you will find them within the chat box. So please click on the link. And for now, it's not too late for assist to the next webinar, the next and the last webinar of the series. And the next webinar will take place the next Wednesday, so Wednesday, in November 25, and it will deal with electromobility, urban planning impacts of technology trend. Thank you very much one more time to you all, and I hope see you soon within the UTC.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Sure.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Everyone.